Yes, and David Victor nicely gave us the complex political economy of global energy and climate, and I'm going to be presenting a slice of a slice of a slice, a very incomplete and partial account of behavioral change. But it's what I know and where I add value to the effort. So this is what we're trying to do. We're trying to switch from the picture on the left to the picture on the right. That's from Alex Zond, who's visiting Jan Kleisel, a visiting scholar at UCSD, who's worked in Nepal for a long time. And for those of you who are maybe thinking of flirting with that pirate Johnny Depp, this is how pirates really looked. This is an actor who's been made up as if he had scurvy, where your teeth fall out and your skin rots. And the reason I'm showing you that is that to illustrate the point that technology is a science question and technology adoption is a science question. So natural science might ask, how does one control scurvy? Well, that was discovered in 1601. And social science would ask, why didn't the Navy adopt scurvy control for nearly 200 years? That's a scientific question. It would be nice to know the answer to that. And that leads to this 2011 document from the American Academy of Arts and Sciences called Beyond Technology, Strengthening Energy Policy Through Social Science, which gives us, I think, rationale for our interdisciplinary efforts. They say successful transformation of the US energy system will require extensive diffusion of innovative technologies and practices throughout the economy, and the Academy workshop presented solid evidence that the social sciences can help address these changes. It's official AAAS with, lists of recommendations and mandates and so on, which will go to the US Senate and die, I imagine. With respect to short-lived climate pollutant mitigation, we're looking at rural energy technology, particularly the cook stove, not exclusively, and Project Surya has led the way in that. There's also a Global Alliance for Clean Cook Stoves, which Ram knows all about. It's an international coordinator of these efforts with the participation of many international institutions and many international funders. And they have a grand strategy document. Oh, just pointing out that 2.7 billion rely on solid fuels. Something I discovered in Africa and India, and I should have known this, is, people lead good lives. They have good times. They face more tragedies than we do, but they enjoy life. Here the women are out gathering firewood. So a problem with cook stove adoption, I'm new to the problem of cook stove adoption. I'm applying what I know elsewhere to it. But from what I get from a recent literature review is the problem is low or negative demand. Negative demand, that is, you couldn't even pay me to use it. So the interventions over the last 30 or 40 years, you just, in every review article, you get this constant refrain, low rate of adoption, puzzlingly low rate of adoption, or if adopted, a low rate of continuance. I suspect that's beginning to change a bit. And there are many varying costs and benefits of adoption, and you'll be relieved to know that in my earlier slides, I had 6 slides laying all these out. But we would have never gotten we wouldn't have gotten halfway through it. One obstacle to adoption is because of poor design of technology or its introduction, adoption is just not a net benefit for deciders. We see this with early marriage too. People, outside parties come in and advocate and say, you should marry your daughters later because it's a better alternative. It's not a better alternative if there's no education for the girls and there are no market opportunities for them. So you can't go to people and say it's a better alternative when it's not. Don't worry, I'm not some crazy relativist. I do believe in gender equity. But I'm not going to. Those are technical questions. So today, out of the many things I could focus on, it's a very not complex but rich area of inquiry. I'm just going to look at take a brief look at household and especially community factors in the adoption decision. And borrowing from that Global Alliance for Clean Cook Stoves, they have a grand strategy document. And they break the adoption problem into 3 buckets: enhanced demand, strengthen supply, that is, deliver stoves that at the right price that actually work for the people who get them, and then enabling environment. That's an international development buzzword to mean like regulations, certifications. In the old days, we would have called this government, but government is a dirty word, so it's now called enabling environment. It's not just the government, it's civil society and NGOs. Enhancing demand. So with the low rates of adoption, the population, one reason for not adopting is the population does not estimate costs and benefits as outsiders would estimate them. So you get surveys that say, do you understand that there's a health effect of the smoky kitchen? Yes. So are you going to buy a stove? No. And there are meta-analyses that show, add up 50 different studies that have regressed age, education, and income against stove adoption. And then people say, well, there must be something, we have to think of new strategies. And speculative suggestions in the current stove literature is social marketing, peer pressure. This is where I work in a much more, I think, refined and precise fashion, which I'm not going to be able to indicate in my short time today. What I'm going to tell you today is very vague and very cheerful, so you'll just have to forgive me for that. But my proposal is to adapt organized community norms change approach, adapt, not copy, to rural energy technology adoption. And Zan's approach in Nepal, which I just recently learned of, is very similar to that. So I started in 1998 I published an article in 1998 working in Senegal on the abandonment of female genital cutting. And I can't tell you why, I can't give you the details why, but part of the process of change is values deliberations, where you clarify moral norms. The basic moral sentence is do not injure others. Here you see adolescents with human rights images, which they discuss. In these settings, and even in our setting, rational discursive moral influence is only part of human moral influence. Human moral influence is multimodal. It takes place through image, song, dance, emotion, bodily expression, facial expression. Of course, these people are capable of rational abstraction argument too. It's we, I think, rather, who are stunted. And this culminates in a coordinated shift in social norms. And here you see 2004, a collective abandonment by 96 villages of female genital cutting. And this has worked. It's now international best practice, and DFID, the UK Development Agency, just dropped $50 million to expand this effort in, I think, for 8 countries, including $10 million of research money. So there's the FGC example, and then I've been teaching UNICEF personnel social norms change, and in doing that, we learned of community action for total sanitation, which was doing the same things in parallel with a little bit different terminology, but the same thing. So poor indoor cook stoves kill about 4 million, while poor sanitation kills about 2 million people a year, twice as many deaths twice as many deaths as from all violent conflict. But you don't see any sanitation ethicists in the philosophy departments. The community sanitation program efforts, they tried well-engineered latrines, didn't work. They were nice storage sheds. The economists said pay people to use them. People said thanks for paying us for the nice storage sheds. And then the organized community norm shift was emerged from trial and error and worked. And these remaining slides are borrowed from Therese Dooley, who is the head of this in UNICEF headquarters. They went through a long, she said 21 software approaches before they hit, software that is, relations with people, before they hit non-engineering stuff. She's an engineer. Before they hit on the key, which is to empower individuals and communities with knowledge, facilitate the development of new social norms. This creates the demand for services and facilitates the establishment of supply chains. And here's the difference between the old approach and the new approach. Building toilets versus changing social norms, targeting individuals versus targeting the community. All right, I'm going to rush ahead. She points out usefully that our perspective and how we value things are not the same, not necessarily the same as the villagers' perspective on things. This community total sanitation, I'm almost there. In a nutshell, relies on community mobilization, discussion, and decision. It's being implemented in 48 countries. I think it's a useful model for us. It's not identical, but it's similar. And you can see that part of it is appealing to a better future and community pride. Environmental sanitation is our pride for our free community in Garama Menda. And if you look at cook stove adoption, the appeal of a pride and a better future for all, the pride is manifest in these women showing off their shows, or showing off their stoves. And the famous Barefoot College, the solar engineering capital of rural India, lit up by solar light in the nighttime. Okay.